everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I'll be your host for the day, Fiona Chiruja. I'm Community Manager at MEST Africa. So we'll give a few minutes, 2 more minutes to more attendees to join, and then we'll kick off at 12:07. Thank you all for your patience and for joining us today. Hi, everyone. I think we have a good number to start. So I'm going to launch a live poll. We'd like for the participants to let us know what sectors you're from, what roles and designations you serve in your respective startups, and organizations that you are from. So we look forward to learning more about you all. For the webinar today, we're super excited to Ghanashyam, who is the founder of Edler Hub. And I think it will do an immense, favor for him to talk more about his background and his work with Edler Hub. And for this webinar, we're really looking forward to learning more about the essence and the values of product managers. Why do we have them in our organizations? What are their respective duties? What is the value and what benefits do they bring on board for startups and SMEs across board? Ghanashyam, thank you for joining us. Over to you.
Thanks, Fiona. Let me share my screen. Let me know if you can see my screen.
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. So a very good afternoon to all of you here. So I'm like in the session. I would like to briefly tell about myself, like what I do. My name is Ghanashyam. I am based out of India. The QR code there is my LinkedIn QR code. So feel free to scan. We can get connected on LinkedIn. I started Edler Hub about 5 years ago, and what we do in Edler Hub is primarily we help companies in managing programs, managing community programs, managing programs for academia. To give you an example, like we help companies like UiPath or Google conduct their student programs. It could be like the Developer Student Club, or UiPath has something called UiPath Student Champion. So at Edler Hub, we help these companies to conceptualize, to execute, and with the outreach and strategize these kinds of programs. Apart from that, I also manage a program for the D School at Stanford called University Innovation Fellows. Again, as the name says, it is for university students, wherein we train them to become entrepreneurial or intrapreneurial, where they will be able to we train them on tools and technologies that will help them to bring innovation to their campus, and also make them to become more innovative and also excel in their careers as well as their student lives. I've been associated with Google for Startups program for almost a decade now. Like 2015 is when I started working with the Google team on various startup initiatives here in India. Over the past 3 years, like since the pandemic, I've also been a facilitator. So when I say facilitator, it's more of like conducting these sessions for the Google for Startup Accelerator program, and also Google for Startup Accelerator partners, like how we are doing it today in association with MEST Africa. So that's a bit about me. Fiona, do we have a response from the poll? Like, do we have people responding?
Yes, we do. We have quite a bit responding. About 15 participants are responding already. And maybe as a side note to the rest of the participants, we will have a Q&A at the end of the session, and Ghanashyam will beckon us to interact. So if you'd like to make a comment and be unmuted, kindly raise your hand on the icon at the bottom of your screens, and we'll unmute you to make your contributions.
Fiona, just a quick check in case they have any questions in between, or if I ask any questions in between, will they be able to chat and let us know their response?
Yes, so they will be required to raise their hands on the icon at the bottom of the screen with a thumb open, and we'll be able to unmute them and have them contribute.
Okay, perfect. So let's get started without much delay. So today's session is on primarily product manager. So we will be covering, to begin with, we'll be covering what is the role of a product manager, why do you need a product manager, what is a product manager responsible for, and also I'll talk about some of the tips. I'll provide you some tips about how you can hire your first few product managers. So Fiona, again, a question to you. Do we have any product managers on the call today?
Yeah, from the poll, we have about 31% of the attendees are product managers. So about 5 to 6 of them are product managers. So
Perfect. So I think the next question is like it's more for the others, like why we are talking about this, like why Google is interested in talking about product managers, Google being a tech company. So it's out of my personal experience, and that the whole title or the whole career of product manager, it's not something which has been existing for a long time. So even about a decade ago, when I was working like hardcore into tech, I was working as like a developer, I was working as a project manager. We didn't have roles as product managers, and it was mostly either there was sales, marketing, or there were software developers, project managers, but there was nothing called product management. But over the years, how things have shaped up is even without this product management team or product manager, things will run on its own. But it is like everyone needs to take the onus on themselves and do it. Like there is no single person or no single team which is responsible for the entire product. So that is where Google finds it with the startup culture coming in. Many of the founders itself, like the product starts because of an idea from the founder. But as it grows, the founder needs to start concentrating on other things, and they need to hand the entire the brainchild of theirs, that's the product, to someone else. And that is where the whole product team comes into picture, or a product manager comes into picture. So what the product manager does is like they are a kind of a confluence of user experience or technology and business, and they sit in between. They are the ones who kind of have, I wouldn't say control, but they are the ones who are talking to all these different teams and ensuring the product reaches the market and product reaches the right people. So while the CEO or the founder owns the company, owns the idea, the product manager becomes the CEO of the product. And when I say CEO of the product, there could be multiple product managers in a larger product. I will talk to you in some time about what is that I'm referring to when I say multiple teams or multiple products. But it is the responsibility of the PM. When I just to let you know, when I say PM throughout the session, it is product manager. When it is a different meaning, I will specifically, explicitly tell you what I'm referring to or whom I'm referring to. So this product manager owns up the entire product and will work with the other teams to ensure that a delivery product is delivered to the, a quality product is delivered to the end users. So there are 4 takeaways, I think 3 or 4 takeaways from this. This is the first takeaway, the role of a product manager. It is the product manager is the PM's responsibility to define the vision of the product and executing with the engineering, user experience, marketing, sales team, and finally to ship the solution to the customer. So it is the role of PM to make all these things happen. So let's look at a PM role based on different companies. Like on the left side, you can see what is the PM at Google. On the right side, you can see the other models. So in case of Google, right, like the PM role or the product manager role is a big thing where it sits in the technology division. So they are the engineering leaders. They are the ones who need to have a CS or a electronics or a electrical background with good knowledge of technology, and they will be the ones who will be leading the product. Whereas in other companies like Apple or Microsoft, you can see that the way they define their PMs are different. Like in case of Apple, they don't even have a formal PM function, but like how market existed before this evolution of a PM role, Apple still continues to do that. In case of Amazon, it changes. There it is not technical, while some part of Amazon like AWS still looks for tech-oriented PMs. The overall as a company, Amazon looks at PMs in a different sense. Like they need people from business background. They need someone who can understand the business, who can understand the market, rather than someone who really understands the technology. In case of Microsoft, things change. What they do is they combine the project manager and the program manager into one role called the product manager. So that's a different model altogether. So these are the various models which are existing in the market. Like you can see Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter still is a tech heavy PM role, but they wouldn't look much towards just the tech part, because they also, since they are into since they cater different set of audience, they also work on different aspects, and that's why they are less tech, but still like they prefer someone who understands technology. So can anyone here like feel free to unmute yourself, like raise your hands and tell me like why do you think these models are different? Yeah, Benaya. Yeah.
Yes, I think the models are different because the companies have different like ways of delivering their product to their customer, and they focus on different industries. So maybe that's why the models are so different.
Right, right. Absolutely.
Killed it.
So let's move on and look at the takeaway two. Like, why do we need, takeaway two, like, why do we need a product manager? So for all the founders in this call, I think this is time that depending on where you are, it is like you need to decide to hand over the product or delegate certain responsibilities of your product to a different person, because as a founder, you need to scale yourself and you need to start concentrating on different things associated with your company. So it's absolutely okay if you even don't hire a PM right away, but see if you can elevate someone in the team itself, in the team itself to kind of lead this product, lead this entire development and the delivery part of your product. So these are some of the things which you can delegate to a PM, which is related to a product. Its first one is, who are my customers? What is my hypothesis on their unsolved needs? Any like doing market research, understanding the data trends. So these are some things which you can delegate it to a PM. Or also for a better product, like better, when I say better product, it is like understanding the market better and delivering products which can solve user needs. Because many times what happens is, as founders, since the product is our brainchild, we always think our product is solving something phenomenal in the market, because that's primarily what happens is that's our bias towards the product. Whereas in case of when you get another person, when you get another PM, they will be able to remove that bias and they will be able to see it in a better way and see if really that product can solve a problem for your customers. Many a times, I think the startups fail, the products fail, because always the founder keeps the product to themselves. The founder is trying to solve a problem for themselves, and they tend to feel that a problem which they are facing would be a problem for everyone. So that is one of the causes for disaster. To ensure that you don't get into that way, the sooner you can get a third person and give the product to them and let them lead your product development cycle, because they will be able to help you with it. So if we break down these 9 points of the deliverables which you can be delegated, you can see that the first 4 is about the product vision. The first 4 points talk about the vision of the product, like why the product is required. And the next 5 is mostly into execution, like after the vision, you execute the product and you get it out to the market. So that is where the next 5 points are. So these are the different deliverables as such, or these are the different things, how you can split your, you can delegate, like you can still continue to keep maybe the vision with you and give the execution to someone else, or you can still keep the execution with you and hire a PM or elevate a candidate from your team to visualize your product, to do all the necessary things of doing the research for your product. So how does it relate to other functions work? So if you remember, in the beginning, I said the product manager sits in between your user experience, your technology, your sales and marketing teams. So how product manager needs to do is they are not responsible for the micromanagement of any of the teams. So their responsibility is to just work with the other teams, like work with the spark from each of the other teams, to ensure that what work these individual teams are doing is well aligned with the vision of your product. They should not be the one who is micromanaging, like which engineer is working on what kind of a request or what kind of a feature, or which person in the legal team is looking into your IP aspects or anything. So they just need to stand back and ensure that they coordinate with all these teams. They keep a track of what the other teams are doing on a whole, and if their work is really aligned to what the vision of the product is. I hope I'm clear. Like, in case of any questions, or if you want me to stop or repeat again, let me know. I would be happy to go back and do it once again for you. And when we look at the outputs, what we expect from a product manager or from a PM, these are the two buckets which I spoke to you earlier: the product vision and product execution. In product vision, these are the outputs which we can expect. It could be a product requirement document, which has more details about competition, all the hypotheses, what you're thinking of product, what they are thinking of the product, any assumptions which are being made, and a proper roadmap, like how they want to see this product grow. See, no product is a one-time release. It always needs to be an iterative process. So I always tell the startups, don't wait until you complete a product. Any product is never complete. It's always incomplete, because there are always some things which you can add extra, like how you sprinkle sugar sometimes on some delicacies to make it sweeter or make it taste better. So even in case of product, it's the same. You need to add those small things which makes the experience for your customers better, which makes your customers become happy about your product and they continue to use your product. The other outputs when it comes to vision is the PMs need to be part of the vision discussion. They need to be critical of the founder's idea, because again, I might be repeating this multiple times through the session. Founders always have a bias for their product, for a feature they have worked on. So founders would never be ready to let go of it, but it is the duty of a PM to give a different aspect, different perspective, and really help the founder to see it through a different lens and ensure the product comes out much better. And also, it would be the PM's role to maybe at times internally and externally pitch about this product and also demo the product to others, because they, as I told you, they are the CEO of these products, so they know the best about any product. Coming down into execution, these are multiple different things, like they like breaking down into feature, constantly debugging, as in like if tomorrow an alpha release or a beta release is given to a customer and customer faces an issue, the product manager should have that capacity where they will be able to debug and understand what exactly is happening in the product, rather than waiting for someone from the tech team or someone from a support team to come back and look into the issue. So they need to understand, maybe like, if not each line of code, they need to understand as a whole, like what exactly is happening, and solve the customer issues. So as I told, this is when the whole thing fails, the hiring the product manager. It is when they start micromanaging other teams, then it means you're setting up the product for a failure. And if you're a product manager, these are some things you really need to avoid. Is you need to, like, if you have a team of product managers, well and good, like you can probably manage or understand each of their products better. But if you are the product manager working with the other teams, then it's a complete no-no getting into micromanagement of other teams, like who needs to work on a feature or who needs to work on a marketing pitch. That should not be your concern. And second thing is, again, while you are the CEO of the product, you are not the CEO of the company. A PM is always related only to that specific product. So you need to always align your visions, communicate with your founders, communicate with the leaders, communicate with your managers. It's okay, like at times you might have to disagree with founders. It's absolutely fine, but ensure that whenever you're disagreeing with a founder, you have the valid data points because of which you're not agreeing with you're disagreeing with the founder. Because with the data, you will be able to explain better and you will be able to convince the other person to accept your point. But without data, if you just try to become a blocker, obviously that wouldn't go well. And it might lead that the product manager might be out of the team very soon, because it's hampering the growth of the product. It's hampering the development of the product. So this is the third takeaway. The first takeaway was, if anyone wants to type it out, what was the first takeaway? Maybe you can type the answers in the Q&A itself. I guess we might be able to see the Q&A. So can anyone tell me what was the first takeaway we spoke about?
I think if, guys find it easier to, speak it out instead of, typing it out as well, just raise your hand and I'll unmute you to contribute.
Yeah, that'll be great. We will wait for a few more seconds. Okay, so 2 questions. What was the takeaway number 1 and what was the takeaway number 2?
Hello, can I be heard?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the takeaway 1, I think we spoke about the role of the product manager. Yeah, and then we defined that he was the responsible for defining the product vision and then executing on it whilst looking at other factors, and the last to ship it. I think that was what I took from the first takeaway.
Right. What was the, do you remember what was the second takeaway?
The second takeaway, we were speaking about how to hire the product manager. And so, like, basically we spoke about how to delegate the responsibilities and stuff like that. So I just made the key points. So yeah, that's what I.
Right. So this is the third takeaway. The third takeaway would be the responsibilities, like key responsibilities of a PM. You can see in the beginning when I spoke, I just spoke about like I had listed 9 tasks which could be delegated to a PM, and we had separated them like what comes under the product vision and what comes under the product execution. So these are the most relevant for the first few hires. That's why we spoke about that. But going forward, like there will be team coordination and building a team of PM. So that happens when you're at scale, like your startup, when it goes to the scale mode where you're growing faster, that is when you would need like multiple product managers. And then you need to have one more product manager who can, again, like manager of the product managers. So that is where you have the building a team of PMs. Let's go ahead. Yeah, so far, any questions? You can.
We do have 2 questions in the Q&A section. Oh, there were comments regarding the question on the key areas that we've covered. So
yes. So that was the response.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's fine. Any questions so far, or we can proceed?
Yeah, so I had a question about the product management. Can I be heard?
Yes, go ahead, Alfred.
Yeah, so some of us, I'm just wondering, like, so with the role of the product manager, I've seen a lot of content regarding the product managers concerning like a lot of tech companies, you know, but there's a need for like product management in other areas. Let's just say a product, a physical product, hardware, that kind of stuff. And it seems like most of the content go around the software context. I don't know if that is the general idea in the ecosystem. Let's just say the startup ecosystem, because some of the startups also do, service. Some of them do physical products and stuff like that. But anytime maybe a product manager is mentioned, you see it more in the context of software. Is this the case, or do we have to kind of, we that we work in physical products and other type of products, do we have to kind of extract this ourselves, or does the same apply? Basically, that's what I'm trying to say. Does it apply?
See, when we are talking about product managers, right? Like the reason I spoke about the first part is user experience and the technology is primarily because we are concentrating on the software. But if you look at the aspect wise, the role of a product manager does not change if it is also related to hardware. So even there is a team which works closely with, like when you're creating a physical device or hardware device, right? Like there is a team who is trying to understand what the market needs, who is trying to understand how they can give a better experience for their customers. Then there is a team who is taking care of the sales, and there is a backend team who is really working on it. Like it could be a chipset team, or it could be like, say, if you're doing a watch, and I'm just taking an example of a watch. There could be a team which is taking care of all the small components which go into a watch, and there is another team who is working on the casing. So the product manager would still be playing this pivotal role where they are working with the marketing team to understand how to market a product. They are working with the user experience team to understand like what kind of experience would it be nice to give it to the users. And then there is this whole casing team and the chipset team, right? Like this person would be responsible to talk to everyone and ensure things are in progress. So the same concepts apply. Yes, there might be a few changes in terms of technology usage and the terms and terminologies, but concepts wise, I don't see any changes there.
Okay. Oh, thank you very much.
Yeah. Amondi, or yeah.
I can see we have a question from Boniface.
Yeah, Boniface.
Yeah. Thank you. So my question will be around, I think Alfred mentioned a little bit, but it will be like around a service provider. Because as he had talked about, maybe we always think about product as something hardware or etc. But in a case where somebody like you're providing service, it's not tangible really, but maybe you're a consultant, etc. How would you define like a product manager in that case? If maybe at all, maybe the CEO can generally do that work, how would you define or bring in somebody to be like a product manager if you're providing something like a service, right?
Yeah, I have a follow-up question for you, Boniface. So can you give me an example of a service? Because see, again, since I come from a tech background, when you say service, I can think of mostly like a development activity. So development activity, whether it is my product or whether I'm giving it as like a service to another company, I like the concepts remain the same. So when you say what kind of service are you referring to?
So maybe let me just say business consultancy, etc.
Okay.
Yeah.
It depends. It really depends on what kind of or specifically what kind of consulting you are doing.
Okay. Okay, I'd say maybe you are not dealing with any hard product. You are not dealing with any hard product. They're just doing like it's a service. It's not a hard product. There's no element.
So in that case, yeah, in that case, I think the product manager role would not come into picture at all, because this primarily when we are talking about a product. So there, I guess the project management part comes into picture for service, but not a product manager role, because you are really not working with different teams or anything else. Like it is more of giving a service. So yes, maybe you need to like as a service provider, you need to work with other teams from your client or for whom you are providing the service, but you really would not be playing like the role of what do I say, like understanding the market. Because see, when you're giving a service, right, like your deliverables are clear and your client requirements will be clear. So there is no reason for you to go and do a market research, or there is no need for you to really like dig deep into see what kind of technology needs to be implemented, because you come in as a consultant, like you are called as an expert to provide some service. So there will be no product manager's role which is required there.
Okay, and at what point do you think it's necessary for somebody to involve a product manager? Maybe now you're not doing in the side of the service, but now you have like a hard product that you're working with. Is it
yes,
like you have to think about the issues or the market that you're serving, like how big it is, or like the moment you just start your business, you start thinking of, because you mentioned something that maybe a CEO or a founder is always tries to own the idea, right? And so you want to alleviate the CEO from completely being married to the idea and maybe give them a different perspective. So at what point do you think it's necessary for somebody to consider having a product manager?
See, again, for a service, you really will not be requiring a product manager there. Like as I told you, right? And for a product, like why your question was more of product, like if it is a product founder,
I had already moved away from maybe a service, but now I'm talking about if you're providing maybe
Okay, I get it. See, I would say the moment you have your MVP out and the moment you are testing the waters and trying to, like, maybe you get that first customer, even if not a paying customer, but the first customer who is ready to try out your solution, that is the time when you need to slowly start moving out of the like a founder plus product manager role and hire another person. The reason being, since from that point onwards, right, like you need to start scaling up. Like first you are going to this customer with a prototype or with maybe like the 0.1 or 0.2 kind of a release. And the moment they are trying it out, if you bring in a product manager external, like a different person, that person will be able to communicate much better with this, with the client, to understand the client in a better way, and also to start working on improving your product.
I get it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other question? Yes, Dr. Arnold.
Thank you so much for such a wonderful presentation, and I must commend you for that. And I think this is some of the education that we will need as service and product developers. However, I want to just try to understand, because in my line of work, I do believe that a service is also a product, because I have worked in the industry before, and then probably if we were rolling out any service, then we classify it as a product. So a service is built with the concept of a product. Whichever service is being handled by your outfit or any other individual, it is treated as a product. So the concept of product management is also applied for it. Now, my question that I want to ask, is there any distinction when it comes to developing a product? We have a product manager, and we have an individual who is also interested to be or manage the project, the processes of developing the product. So in this case, we may have a role of a project manager, and we may have a role of a product manager. So where do we see any, is there any overlap in terms of responsibilities between a project manager and then a product manager?
A good question, Dr. Noel. See, to a certain extent, when you define the roles and responsibilities, to a certain extent, the role of a project manager slightly overlaps with that of product manager, because any product, right? Like when you look at it, like once the team starts growing, once the product starts growing, a product is a combination of multiple projects. So it'll be like there is a project manager, a tech project manager, there is a marketing project manager, there is a user experience project manager. So these people are very specific to their verticals, whereas a product manager comes into the role where they will be overlooking or working closely with these sets of project managers. So while activities might little be here and there same of overlooking the work and like getting things on track, getting the reports and everything into place, a project manager is like multiple project managers work with one product manager. That's how I would put it up. I hope that answered your question. Okay, moving on. So I think this was a question which came in. I think Bonfez asked me this, like when to hire a PM. So this is the answer. To scale yourself as a founder, you need to delegate certain product development responsibilities, and the right time, like as I said, it depends. One is it depends on product, but one is you need to you need to see when is the right time. The right time could be for some products, it could be like after the first revenue paying customer, or for some products, it could be it could be much after it. Like you've started raising money, you're getting it, but now you need to scale up and you need to raise funding. Like you need to go like the entire funding process of seed funding, Series A, Series B. When you need to start concentrating on different aspects, when you need to start marketing your product or going out and talking about your startup, that is when you also might have to start looking for a PM. And if you have more product, like if you have one product, if you feel that, okay, I have a 5-member team and I am happy with it, I am not going beyond this, absolutely fine. Don't go with a PM. Like that's a added responsibility for you. But the moment you see there are multiple products coming on and you might be able to expand your product, that's the time when you start looking for another product manager. So I think I spoke about this earlier as well, like options for hiring a product manager. One is taking someone from the existing team, like see if any of your existing team members have that passion to grow or to become a product manager, and elevate them, like slowly let them start shadowing you. And once slowly you can start delegating your responsibilities and make them grow. Or the second one is hire an experienced product manager, like take someone who is already been working in a similar industry, or also who has the understanding of your domain. And then you can start delegating the work slowly. And if in case you're looking at like a large, like when you go to the scale mode and you have multiple products in mind, that is a time when you really need to find a senior leader who can come on board as what do I say, as a founder, a co-founder, or at a senior management level, who can then take this entire product responsibilities from the founder's shoulders. So there is also like in companies like Google, I think especially in Google, if I'm correct, I think the first hire of a product manager happened when the company was between 15 to 20 people. Like that was the size of the company. That's when they started hiring product managers. So have a person who is hands-on, who has the understanding. Like if you're hiring from outside, try not to outsource the entire PM role. You can hire consultants who can help you with some aspects of it, but once you outsource the entire PM role, then the product is definitely not yours, because you've already outsourced this to someone else. How to interview? Interview is your whatever the regular things you do, regular tests or regular, depending on where the product manager has to sit, you can follow the same process what you have. Then ensure that they interact with the teams, all the different teams they will be working with, because tomorrow, you remember, this would be the person who needs to get work done from other teams. So if this person is good to you, but is not being able to communicate well with the other teams, then that's again setting up for failure. So you need to ensure that they kind of work well with other teams, and the other team kind of understands this person and is comfortable with this person. For questions, again, you can depending on what kind of PM you're looking at, you can Google it. You will be able to get that. Also, you can take help from an existing PM, like someone in your network who already has been a PM role or who has already experience of being a PM. You can ask them for them to interview, because maybe as a founder, you might not be able to judge a candidate whether they are the right people or not. So once you shortlist few candidates, you might run it through these experienced PMs and see if they will be able to help you. And another recommendation is don't talk about your product. Like, see, if you're giving them a use case, if you're giving a hypothetical situation, ensure you are not giving or talking anything about your product, rather than go for a hypothetical situation, because you know your product better. So at times you become more judgmental, saying that this, like if during the interview, the candidate talks anything about the product, which doesn't go well with you, you might be biased not to select that person. So always go with a hypothetical situation, or come up with a hypothetical product, and then see how analytical or how this person work culture is. That will be able to help you. Never settle at one round of interview, because it is easy to fake 1 round or 2 rounds of interviews. Try to do like that's where I said, like, let them interact or let them work with different team leaders. Then you will be able to understand if this person really meets the whole criteria of being a PM. So this is an example, like, what is the vision? So this is what you can share, and see how exactly this person works, or how exactly this person thinks, or gives you a chart about execution or in terms of design. So this is the link. I'll put it in the chat window, because there is more. I will also start another session, like there is another presentation. So I'll just stop sharing. While I start the other session, if you have any questions, again, feel free to do it. So we'll do a bit of a deep dive of product user value. Any questions regarding the PM so far? Yes, Boniface?
Yeah, just a quick one, but how practical will it be for you to be hypothetical about something that you're about your product if already maybe you are established and maybe somebody is
No, you should
applying?
not be hypothetical about your product. So I said hypothetical product, like create a different product altogether. So that is something which you need to be prepared much before the interview. See, you understand, like you understand your product, and like your product is already close to your heart. So there will be a lot of emotions associated with it. But if you prepare a kind of a use case, if you prepare something else, you will not have the same kind of attachment. So it becomes much easier for you to judge the way the other person is kind of analyzing or tackling the product or tackling that issue, or like whatever you're looking at, right? Like you can see if the skills, if they have the necessary skills, and if they kind of match your thought process. Because when you're handing over your product, you want someone who can understand you pretty well, who can understand your product pretty well. So talking about a hypothetical product, both of you, it will be easier. Session continues, like we still have some more. I see people are already leaving. The session is still there. So Boniface, did I answer the question? Like, was I clear?
Yeah, it was. I think like initially I was being confused on how you can hypothesize, like you already maybe somebody's applying and knows that maybe you're looking for a specific role around the product you're working with, and then you are talking about now hypothesizing a different kind of product. Maybe I think it's something that closely matches what you're doing. It doesn't vary too much, but yeah, I think right now I get it.
Yeah, see, another problem what could happen is, see, when you're looking at a product manager, right? Like when you talk about your own product, there could be one issue which you are trying to solve. And what you do is, like, you probably might give that itself as a, like, in general, that is a human tendency that you might want to see how this person tackles the problem which you're already trying to solve. And you ask that question. For you, you have a better understanding of your product. So you know what works, what doesn't work. But when the other person might come up with like with an idea which you might have already tried, you might get that feeling that this person maybe is not getting the right sense, or this person is not understanding the problem well. But you need to understand, you come with a baggage about your product, you come with a better understanding of your product, while then that other person doesn't have that entire understanding. That's why we say, don't talk about your product or the issues which your product or you're foreseeing in, or you're seeing in your product. Rather than that, give a different use case to see how they think and how they approach the problem, approach the product. Because then once they are in the company, they might take some time to get a better understanding, and they'll be able to do it.
Thank you.
Okay.
I understand.
Yeah, perfect. So continuing, this I think we've already covered. So now, thinking of the outcomes, right? Like one of the outcomes we said is like the PRD, the product requirement document. But another overall outcome, if you look at it, the PM is responsible for creating a product which gives the value for users. So can anyone here tell me, like when we say like value for users, what are we talking about? Anyone? Like, what is product user value? When we say a great PM creates value for users, what do you understand by this statement? So what is the product user value, or what is the value for users here? Okay, so product user value. Yeah, go ahead. Someone was,
Yeah. I think when somebody is using your product, the end goal is always about satisfaction. So a great product manager must ensure that a user is going to derive like the highest percentage of satisfaction from your product.
Right. I saw one more person, Henrietta. Yeah, you can unmute yourself.
Hello.
Yeah, hi.
Okay, I think he just said what I wanted to say. A good value for users is user satisfaction, a great user satisfaction. So he said what I wanted to say.
Okay. So yes, user satisfaction is one part of it, but actually when you look from, when we say value for users, it also refers to what kind of benefits or what kind of usage your product is bringing to the user, and what kind of problem is it really solving for users. So that is one of the outcomes of a PM. So this is where the role of PM starts. Maybe this is something which all of you might have been doing as well. It is industry agnostic, whether it is software, hardware, or service. For whatever it is, the users, like identifying the user is the key thing. Like a mobile application, maybe like say a fintech application. It is the role of a PM to understand, to identify, to define who would be the right users. These apps are really not targeted for, like, say, a 5-year-old or a 6-year-old or a kid. So defining who needs to use this, what should be their understanding of the market or their understanding, all these things are something which a product manager should define. Like, let's look at this is a job description which was taken from LinkedIn for Netflix. So this is where previously I was talking about, like, in large companies, you might have different product managers. If you look at this slide, you have an example, like you have a product manager role open for live action production media, and you have a product manager role opening for customer help and support. So if you look at these highlighted sections, right, like you really see that the key focus is on the what kind of users this particular product manager would be working with, or this particular product manager would be targeting or interacting with. So that is a key thing when you are creating the product manager. You need to know, like, what kind of users this product manager should target. At the same time, the person who is taking up the person who is becoming this PM, they need to understand whom they need to target and whom they need to really work closely with. So now, if we look at Netflix, how many different kinds of users do you think? Like, what would be the different kind of users? In the interest of time, I think I will reveal that. So there are different kinds of consumers. Like, the consumers can be kids, millennials, adults, Gen Z. It could be based on geographies. The users could be, there are a different set of sect of users would be the ones how they are consuming the content. Like, are they consuming the content on mobile? They're consuming on TV. They're consuming on laptop. Are they consuming using data, using Wi-Fi, the quality? So that is one part. Then they also need to think about users in new markets, users like how to grow users in existing market. Then when they come internally, like when they look internally in the company itself, they have users there also. They have animation studios. They have the entire streaming, the backend. That's a set of users. Then they have the catalog team. That's a set of users. Again, these are different kinds of users. So once we think about Netflix, for us as laymen, we think, okay, consumers and the producers would be the only one. But when a team looks at it, they need to get into this nitty-gritties of what kind of user they are and start focus on that. So they will have a product manager targeted at each set of these users, or one product manager might be targeting multiple set of these users, depending on what their focus area is. So again, who are the users? Users are the people whom you're creating the value for. Consumers, Twitch, business, Salesforce, developers, like for iOS App Store, it is the developers. For Salesforce, the users would be businesses because Salesforce create values for them. For TensorFlow, it could be the internal teams. Palantir software, for them, government becomes the one. And Twitch streamers, for them, creators would be the users. So it is the role of the PM who identifies who is the right user for their product. So all of you, like if you have a product, first thing you need to identify is you need to like name your users, like you need to create that persona for your users. That is when you will be able to focus better. You might be able to target them better. So startups, if you are having products, I know you might already be working, but again, take the step, go back, right? Or like how I showed for Netflix, right? Try to create that elaborate set of users who will be using your product and how their interaction with your product will be. That is something you need to start focusing on. That is when you'll be able to improve your product and become better in the market. So second one, the first one was the PM identifies the users. The second one, what value does my product provide? So it becomes the responsibility of a PM to identify and describe the value of your product, which you're giving it to your customers, which you're giving it to your users. So how this is done? Like let's for example, let's take airport itself. I would want people to unmute yourself and talk about, assume you are the product manager here. How would you define, or what all would you put as the value of this product? So assume that you are the product manager for the airports.
Yes.
Yes, go ahead. Yeah.
I think one of the things I would highlight is portability.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, more value. See, you're taking this product to market. Like that's why I said, assume that you are the product manager today. So give me some of the items. Yeah, portability is one. What else? Like I am a user. If you're targeting me, like how would you show? Yes, go ahead, Henrietta. You can unmute yourself.
I think cost too is one, and durability too is another one. Yeah.
Okay. So cost, durability, and portability. Yes, go ahead.
Ease of use and quality sound.
Okay, ease of use, quality of sound, great. Anyone else? So before I show like what are some of the values which the product manager would define there, there are two frameworks which you can use to really identify the user value. The first framework is called jobs to be done, or it's actually JTBD. And the second one is the critical user journeys. So what is job to be done? So job to be done is it's one of the framework where you can identify the user value. How you do is like, first you understand the job, then you define the desired outcome of it. Like basically that would be the functional task, like what needs to be complete, or what task would be completed. Then identify the emotional needs and the functional needs. And then there are multiple steps where you also go back to your users to validate your thoughts, validate your product, and refine it. So a typical product manager for airport would define some of the values for the customers like this. For GVC calls, that's voice calls. For music, you can create white noise, like why do users hire my product? White noise for that, to ensure that people are like, I'm not able to listen in the outside world. Again, someone told me for calls, there is a stated symbol as well. Like owning an airport is not, at least till some time ago, it was not used to be everyone's cup of tea. Like I think someone told that cost is one of the factors, and it is not something which it is easily affordable for anyone to take that. You need to be like, you need to have that kind of money to buy AirPods. It's not like what you can buy with like a student would be able to afford it easily. Then again, one of the other things as part of the jobs to be done framework is how do the users experience my product? First one was, why do the users want my product? The second one is, how do the users experience my product? Like in terms of connectivity, like if you have an iPhone, you know, like how easy it is to connect a AirPod. It's just open the case. If it is closer to your phone, it just tries to, like, it gives you an option to connect. And someone again told portability. Yes, it's like you can carry it anywhere. Like the other Bluetooth headphones, like what we used to get in the past with the batteries, you really need not worry about replacing that battery. So whenever you have this case which is charged, so whenever you're not using, whenever the AirPods are not in your ear, it gets into the case and it gets charged by itself. So experience is also something which a product manager needs to think about, like how they can make, as Henrietta and Boniface told earlier, right? The PM needs to think about how customers can experience my product. That's a major thing. So coming to critical user journey. So this is an old ad from 1946. Can anybody tell me like what this ad is trying to tell? So this was the ad which the Reynolds company gave in a paper way back in 1946. If you see, they are concentrating on several problems which they are overcoming. For example, like no lost caps. Like earlier, this is the time when they are using the ballpoint pen. So earlier, when it used to be the inks and refills, the cap had to be always there on the pen. Otherwise, the ink would leak out. If you're keeping in your pocket, the inks would leak out on your shirts or your pants or on your clothes, or the ink would spill out in the back. And here they're talking about that critical user journey, that you need not worry about your caps. Like if the cap is lost, it's absolutely fine because there is no cap for this this pen, and no refilling required. So there was no ink to be refilled. You would get that ready-made refills. So you just need to replace it. And they were also talking about, like, this ad talks about why to use it. Like, why should you buy it? You can write in an airplane and you can write it underwater without smudging, because ink was never possible. Using an ink pen, you can never write under the water. The moment ink or the water drop falls on the ink notes, your writing is gone. And here they were targeting these critical values. So that's why, as I told you, there are two frameworks. One is the jobs to be done. The second one is critical user journey. So jobs to be done, I showed you the AirPods example. Critical user journey, this Reynolds is an example. Here, they're articulating the value of it in such a way that they are targeting the importance of why this has to be used. This has to be used. Again, an exercise for all of you. You already have identified the users. We could do it like if anyone wants to, or we can, like, this is something you can take a screenshot to something to remember to do after this session. 3 lines: name your product, 1 primary users, and why should this 1 person use your product. So going back to the AirPod example, we showed the photo of a person who is probably running or walking, who's ready to hit the gym wearing the AirPods during the workout. So in that sense, every person has different set of user journey or a different set of reasons why they will use it. You need to identify 1 user, and for this 1 user, why should this person use your product? That is something you need to think about. So there are ways to identify value for your products. 2 ways would be observing the users and asking the users. So observing the users is basically, we do it like in design thinking, we do something called user behavior study, where you don't ask questions, but you see how the users are using it. Like it could be data usage in sense of like, what is the more, like, for example, in case of YouTube, like what is the most searched song or a tool or a video. excuse me. Sorry. What is the most most search song? And next one could be, what is the next second search song, or what is the next search song, or what is the trend? Like if someone has listened to this song, what would be the following song they would listen to? So based on these usage trends, they will be able to code that, like auto suggestions, what you see on YouTube, that is what they'll be able to come up with. So observing the user is one way of identifying the value of the product. Betting on trends, like today everyone is betting on this generative AI, ChatGPT, Bard. So that's the current trend which is going on. So to identify the value of your product, you also need to sometimes bet on trends, see what will be trending in the next, say, 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, and then design or create value of your product in such a way that it follows the trend. The third one is testing ideas, like what you can just like maybe like release a beta feature, release an alpha feature, and see how it works, how people respond to it, what kind of feedback you start receiving. So these are the observing part. Now coming to the asking users part, there are 3 ways again. First is in-product feedback. In-product feedback would be like, you might have seen this and you might be using in your, if you have a software app, or if you have a mobile app or a software, it might ask you, like you might have seen this pop-up coming up, like, how do you rate this? How do you rate this app? Or how do you rate this feature? So that is one way of asking your users. Doing surveys, like if you don't have a product yet, but you are planning something, you can send out survey links and understand what kind of products people would be expecting, what kind of problems people are facing with an existing product, so that you can like say you have a competitor, like say you're creating a ticket booking platform. So you can send out a survey to understand what are some of the problems which people are facing with the current tools which are available, with the current platforms which are available. And then you can overcome it, or you can look at what are some of key problem areas the existing ones are doing, and ensure that you are giving the existing feature plus the add-on feature. Just don't go ahead with the add-on feature, then because there you'll be missing the critical user journey itself. So put the critical user journey, then add these extra little nice features which makes people start using your platform or your product. And finally, the last one is usability study. Usability study is like getting users into into a space, take their consent of recording, record, like there are different ways of doing this user research or usability study, where you get into a kind of NDA with your users, and like it would be in exchange for their time, you could offer them some gift vouchers or anything, whatever you want to do it, and take their, like say, a good 1 hour, 2 hours of their time to understand how they interact with your product, and what are the nuances which they'll be able to help you solve. Like at times when you send a survey or when you ask for an in-product feedback, people might not be giving you the honest feedback, or people might sometimes ignore to give it. But if you're calling users, you're asking them to kind of use your product, and as they use your product, you're also asking them to talk through it, what they're trying to do there. So 2 things done. This is the third thing, measuring value. So until now, we spoke about identifying the users, we spoke about creating the value or identifying the value. The third one, third major role when it comes to product user value, PM has to define measure the values, basically measure the create a matrix to measure the value, like what is the how good or how people are accepting your product. So 2 types again, qualitative and quantitative. Qualitative is the subjective experience. Quantitative is more of data, where you use analytics tool and do some research on the data what you're seeing. So a question here. say if you're a product manager, so these are the three values which you're looking at. Like, does the web page have expertise? Does this result have authority? And really, can you trust it? So can you trust the search result? So if you are a PM for the Google search team, this is something which you would be looking at to measure the value. So this is the qualitative measurement, where based on these three principles or based on these three parameters, you would say, yes, this is a good response, or no, this is not a good response kind. So one is, yes, expertise, you can say, because it talks about, like, it is when you talk about baking soda, it talks about what is baking soda, and then and you need to see from where this result is coming from. This result is coming from healthline.com, which means it is something related to health or something related to food. So yes, you can, it's still trustable. And authority, that's something, again, like, it depends if this is a trustable website. So you that's where you will really need to understand if the search result is good or not. So measuring values happens at two things. One is long-term and short-term. Short-term is the immediately, like, how is it accepted, and how it is accepted and what next. Long-term is like how the growth of the product happens, how it affects towards the longevity of the product. So again, going back to our Netflix, let's look at what are some of the short-term goals or short-term measuring points and long-term measuring points. So for short-term, in terms of qualitative, it will be like if a movie show is good or bad. That's a short-term and qualitative. And what is the session satisfaction? So session satisfaction is like how many people kind of complete a show in one session, or how many people like complete a particular, watching a particular show or a movie completely. Because there are times when people don't like it, they immediately, like, they stop the movie or show in halfway and they start another one. So these are some of the qualitative points on which it is measured. For quantitative, the percentage CTR, like how many hours per week they have watched, how many daily users are coming back to the platform. These would be some of the long-term metrics, short-term quantitative metrics. In terms of long-term qualitative metrics, it would be the Net Promoter Score, the diversity, like what different kinds of shows is available, what different kinds of people you are catering to. All these things would come to the qualitative long-term metrics. And long-term quantitative metrics would be how many people have continued the subscription, how many days a month do people log into the Netflix portal to watch something, to consume content, how many people renew their subscription, and how many people kind of like upgrade their subscriptions. Like someone starts at a very low cost service and starts going towards higher service levels as well. So these are some of the quantitative metrics which Netflix would be measuring. So the ideal thing would be to combine the qualitative and quantitative metrics and set as a North Star. So North Star is like your end goal. So this is how you will be able to like an example for a product of setting a North Star. So again, an activity, name your product. Primary user, I think you already do it. Why should users hire your product? We already spoke about it. Like that was the third activity you did. The fourth activity for you would be, how do you measure the quality? Like what are some of the metrics, both short-term and long-term, you need to measure to see if your product is successful in the market. And this would be the last one. I think we are almost about time. So this would be the last one of product user value, like how to create the user value. So until now, we spoke about identifying users, identifying values, measuring the values. Now, how to create the value, like that is the strategy to create value. That's again a role of a PM. So user value is subjective. When I say user value is subjective, it's because it's again perceptive. And many a times, if there is no product in the market, if you are introducing this market, entering the market, newly, you as a product manager would be responsible, and you would be taking you are making a bet, saying that this product will be successful in the market, and you are also kind of convincing other people that the reason why you feel this product will be a success in the market. So again, here, like in case of startup, this initially starts with the founder and then it goes on to another person. But overall, the PM does this, takes up this activity. Example, all three websites, Coursera, Masterclass, and Khan Academy. If you look at it, all three are into the same domain of skilling, learning. But you look at the way how they're putting it out, how they're showing the value to the users. Like Coursera says, join Coursera for free and learn online. Like for them, the advantage or their key selling point is their collaboration with the top universities and top companies and making the course free of cost for their users. Again, when it comes to Masterclass is a different module. Like though they're into the same learning space, tech space, they have their own course. So they have internal experts who create the course, and they have internal instructors who deliver these courses. So they are not collaborating, but they own it up. Whereas in Khan Academy, it is completely different. Like their target customers, their value is for a different set of people. That is for students. They primarily target like students or people who are still in the learning phase. That is what they target. So articulating the product strategy. So we spoke about identifying users, what value we can provide, and what is the solution. Like again, this is something which gets into your product requirement document. Like what is the solution? You need to create that roadmap. You need to list down all the features. You need to identify what could be the risk. Like in each phase, what are the different risks? You need to do the SWOT analysis. Strength, weakness, opportunities, and threats, and see how you can mitigate many of these risks. You need to have a go-to-market plan, like when you're taking your product to market, like how you want to do it, how you're approaching, what is your target audience, how do you want to do the marketing, what kind of outreach programs are you planning? Are you planning for any associations? Are you planning for any advertising spend? Everything needs to go into the product strategy document. Yeah. So with that, we come to an end of this session. So I would be happy to take any questions.
While we're waiting on the audience to submit some more questions, please feel free to raise your hand, and I'll unmute you to ask your question directly or submit your question in the Q&A box below. Just to also notify the participants, we have included a feedback form in the chat box that will also be included in a follow-up email that will be shared with you. Ghanashyam will also share with us additional resources that we can access to learn more about the product management role and value. We will inquire if we can get access to the slides. We don't have confirmation on that at the moment. I can see that's the most popular question that we currently have. But there will be access to the recording that you will be able to play back and pause at any given point to reiterate yourself and re-engage yourself with the content that we've gone through. Are there any other questions from the audience outside the access to the slides or the presentation?
Even if no questions, I would appreciate if any of you would want to give a feedback. Like I know you will be filling out the feedback form, but I always would also prefer, like, if you did not like, or if you wanted to see something else, or anything you felt it missed, it could have been much better. Feel free to tell me that's how I'll be able to improve the delivery of these sessions in the future for other cohorts or to the other teams as well. So please feel free to unmute yourself if you have any feedback
So we have one question on when will the deep dives be?
If you can unmute yourself and ask me this, that will be helpful because I don't understand when you say when will the deep dives? Can you tell me more about what is the deep dive here you're referring to?
Olua, please raise your hand. I'll give you access to unmute your mic. Go ahead, Henry.
Yeah, thank you so much. So you mentioned something about the deep dives, and when I tried to fill the form, I saw something about the deep dives as well. So as part of the courses, so are we going to be having something like this that, dives deeper into the functions and the roles of the product manager?
I think Fiona might be able to work with the Google team, like Google Africa team, and see if they will be able to arrange the deep dive sessions. Because again, there are different people doing different sessions. So yeah, if there is a request which is made to them, they might be able to probably assign someone or check with someone who will be able to conduct these deep dive sessions.
Yeah, you did amazingly great, and it wouldn't be a bad idea. It would be amazing to have you back, actually. So
yeah. Thank you. So one thing which I actually did not speak about earlier, like I have a question for everyone, like how many of you have gone through a design sprint or a design thinking? How many of you have an idea about it? Because I feel for any startup, right, like going through this process of design sprint and design thinking makes a lot of sense. I actually have conducted design thinking session and design sprints in Egypt, I think in 2014, 2015 timeframe. Some great stuff coming there. Yes, Sarah, nice to know that you have an idea of design thinking. Have you used that in your tool or in your product, Sarah? Design thinking? Go ahead, Sebastian.
Yeah, mine is not a question, but kind of a comment that I can relate with what you said. That the reason as to why founders fail is they develop product or services to solve their problems. Yes, very much I can relate with that. And it's true. And I was even encouraged when you said that a product manager can relate very well with the customer better than the founder. Yes, that's true, because I've designed products and for myself. But when I took them to the market, well, I found something else different. Thanks a lot. I've learned a lot.
Yeah. Thank you for the comment, Sebastian. So there is a session like on YouTube, if you can search for this, it says how to perfectly design. Let me search that and I'll tell you.
Okay.
Yeah, how to perfectly execute the improper plan. So this was a Google I/O 2014 or 2015 video where they do talk about something similar. And that's where, like I always say, design thinking or design sprint comes handy, is that it helps to validate your ideas even before you invest a lot of time in working on the product and releasing it. So that was the reason I asked the question about design thinking.
Ghanashyam, would you like to maybe share a link to the YouTube video that you're referring to? Maybe the audience would like to look at it at a later time. I will also take note of the link and include it in the follow-up email in case anyone misses it or those who had initially attended but left early miss it.
Yeah, I will. Let me just search. I'm searching for that. I'm not getting that link. So I'll do one thing, Fiona. I will share that in an email. Maybe you can add that in the. Yeah, I got it. Sorry.
They perceive their actions as a coding exercise. Validate.
I'm just sharing in the chat window here. It's called perfectly executing the wrong plan, not the imperfect plan. It's perfectly executing the wrong plan. If there are any more questions, I would be happy to take. Otherwise, I see that it's lunchtime probably, and I don't want to hold you back from your lunch for a longer time. I just hope that it was helpful in your journey and would love to interact with you. So feel free to get in touch with me on LinkedIn and maybe like probably sometime in a future session. And God willing, now that with all the end of pandemic, would love to visit Africa sometime for a session or a workshop, and let's see how things work.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Ghanashyam, for for coming on board and facilitating such an interactive session. I'm sure from the interaction, I've seen that there's quite a lot of interest, and we'll definitely reach out for the design sprint and design thinking. I'd also like to say a big thank you to all the participants for joining us today and taking the time to really immerse yourself in learning more about the role and value of a product manager. I have taken away quite a lot that I can use in my role as well. And thank you, everyone. We'll definitely look forward to having you on board for more. Please check out our website for upcoming events and subscribe to our newsletter to get more of these exclusive events. Thank you so much, Ghanashyam, and everyone. Have a great evening and rest of the day. Bye, guys.
Yeah,
Bye.
Bontes, you had something? Bye.
No, initially, you people are struggling to maybe mention my name because it's not West African. So I just wanted to say that I joined in from Kenya. I was just hovering around your website and saw that you had an event. This is a Kenyan name. Okay.
Please do fill in the feedback form, and please feel free to reach out to our email at community@meltwater.org to share more insight about more webinars that you would like to see come your way, and we'll do our best to make sure we put something together. Thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of the day.